Damien Hardwick will always be a Richmond hero. But now the dust has settled on that extraordinary timeline between quitting Tigerland, burnt out at the end of May, to turning up rejuvenated and regenerated, a man in Gold Coast red, at the end of August. Some of Hardwick's recent behaviour has not sat so well with Richmond people. Mark Robinson had a point about Hardwick's poor timing and lack of a succession plan, probably or potentially costing Richmond Adam Kingsley. But I guess it's too early yet to talk about Kingsley. I think it was that extraordinary press conference after that extraordinary timeline when Damien made some pretty big pronouncements. I think it was this comment that was just a bit too much for some Tigers.
I likened it to waking up on Christmas Day and walking out to a set of brand new toys, which is very exciting. I've got a great new bunch of toys that I'm really looking forward to working with, and I couldn't be more excited.
Disrespectful, Damien, and you didn't even rule out having a crack at Dusty either. Surely you owed the Tigers a bit more than that after they released you pretty generously 1.5 years early from a lucrative contract. Damien, I think that Richmond should remain a no-go zone to you. And I think with all that Gold Coast gift-wrapped talent to open, you wouldn't want to be waking up on Boxing Day with a hangover.
And now that he's started to take some of the staff as well, now the stats and IT guru that he's poached, you were okay.
I agree with Caro on that. They've been kind enough to release him from...
Which was my point, Hutchie, the whole time. Yeah. Like, to quit and then to go on a holiday and to be refreshed so quickly, which you defended at the time.
A three-time premiership coach earns you a lot of meal tickets. But I think when Richmond people saw the comment about Christmas Day and all the toys, and then asked about Dustin Martin, and that's another story, we'll talk about him in a moment, I just think that was just a little bit too much. I have changed my tune because I think that it was a long-term deal. He stayed a year too long. It probably cost Richmond a year. And again, you forgive that because you look at what happened with Alistair Clarkson and
what about poaching
Hawthorn.
staff from Richmond?
That should be a no-fly zone. He had a contract with England next year. I know he had a lot of meal tickets, but he can't go and raid the fridge.
I agree with you, Hutchie.
Can't go and raid the fridge.
But I've got no issue with the new toys aspect of it. I think when you've got probably your 30 players or 40 players standing behind, in a way you're selling himself to them and telling them what they are and that they could be the next premiership players.
The new toys, no. It's sort of talking about your old toys like a bit of cattle, and you've talked a lot about Taranto, you've talked a lot about Hopper, and I think they would have been feeling a bit like a couple of used old toys.
But if that's Richmond, people just should move on. I think it's a good thing that he moved. He's moved on, and so they can move on as well. So they shouldn't harbour too much.
Look, the end will probably justify the means. I'm just saying that there's a bit of a sentiment about that right now. So Dustin Martin, despite the fact he's contracted for one more year, and despite the fact I still, in my heart, believe, and Richmond people at the club believe, that he does want to play 300 games for Richmond and no one else, he is a bit disenchanted at the moment. All his close mates have left. He's just farewelled Trent Cotchin, his major on-field mentor, and his other favourite, Jack Riewoldt, and he doesn't know who's going to be coaching him next year. And he hasn't quite made up his mind. His other clubs still believe there is a conversation to be had, and the Sydney Swans are one of them.
What about the AFL Commission, Caro? When will we get that settled?
It'll happen in the next few weeks, I think. And look, the favourite that is emerging is Matt de Boer. Matt de Boer made a pretty impressive interview, I gather. I think it was put forward by the GWS Giants, but he obviously has Fremantle connections too. I'm sure that Andrew Ireland will be part of the conversation. But Matthew, extraordinary, the Lee Matthews situation.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed, Caro. I think he's... when you talk football topics and the game, I've never hung off the edge or walked away saying, geez, what a great opinion that was. What a great thought that was on the game. And yet he was willing to, I think, give away all his media roles, I heard him say it early in the year, to be an AFL commissioner, and yet they sit on their hands, make one phone call, don't ring him back or let him hear.
Lost opportunity.
Yeah, it's a massive
He told the Commission he wasn't prepared in the end to give up media all the time. I don't think that's right. I think what he said publicly is true, that it dragged on, and I think it was disrespectful. So now Lee Matthews, Brendan Gale, has knocked back, Tom Harley have knocked back the AFL, Brad Scott was potentially going to go to the top football job, went back to coaching. Steve Hocking had the top football job, preferred to go back to a club. How many people are going to reject the AFL before they sit down and have a long, hard look at themselves and the sort of offerings they're giving good football people?